Do you remember those winters when the blizzards howled outside the window and snow covered every path in white? Amidst that harsh weather, my grandma's garden always stayed green, providing enough food for the whole family. It wasn't magic, nor was it thanks to modern technology. It was the survival secrets Grandma gathered over decades. Let's explore 25 smart gardening tips from her to ensure your crops stay healthy through the harshest blizzard season. Storing seeds. Seeds are the future of the whole family, and we must never let them sleep forever in the dampness of winter. When the blizzards start to roll in, the sudden rise in humidity becomes the biggest threat to those tiny lives. This moisture can easily trigger early sprouting or worse, cause mold, ruining all the hard work from the previous harvest. To protect them, Grandma would carefully clean glass jars to create a perfect airtight environment. She would place the seeds in the jars and keep them in the driest, coolest spots in the house. She even carefully organized the seeds by vegetable family or planting season so that when the snow melted, farming would go as smoothly as possible. Scientifically, storing them in cool places like a basement helps keep the temperature stable, preventing temperature swings that could lower the germination rate. This is the way to ensure the family's farming stays sustainable through the harshest winters. Thanks to this care, every time spring arrives, the seed germination rate is always at its highest, ready for a brilliant crop as soon as the last layer of snow melts away. Storing vegetables in sand. Sand isn't just for the sea. To Grandma, it was also a wonderful insulating blanket to keep vegetables from giving in to the cold. During days of heavy blizzards, if you leave vegetables in the ground, they will freeze solid. But if you bring them inside without proper storage, they can easily lose water and become mushy. When that happens, prepare large wooden boxes or ceramic jars, then spread a layer of clean, dry sand at the bottom. Harvesting carrots or beets needs to be done very carefully, always leaving a small bit of the stem to prevent moisture from escaping the core of the root. Grandma would layer the vegetables with sand, making sure they never touched each other to avoid any rot from spreading if one went bad. The sand creates a microenvironment that maintains stable humidity, acting as a shield against both dehydration and rot caused by bacteria. This method keeps carrots, beets, radishes, and kohlrabi fresh, crisp, and sweet as if they were just picked. Throughout the long months of winter, the family always had enough nutritious vegetables for hot bowls of soup amidst the howling wind and snow outside, limiting watering. Sometimes our excessive care accidentally becomes a poison for plants during freezing winter days. When blizzards come, the very low temperatures combined with extremely high humidity in the air make plants go into hibernation or grow very slowly. If we keep the habit of watering like in the summer, the excess water will build up, and along with the low temperatures, it will lead to quick root rot. Grandma would watch the soil very closely and only give a little water when she saw the ground was truly bone dry. Especially during the peak frost months like November and December, she almost completely limited watering to avoid mold issues. Only when moving into January and February, as the winter sun began to appear more often, did she gradually increase the water. This is actually to protect the sensitive root system from fungal attacks in low light conditions. Thanks to this restraint, the plants in the garden didn't get waterlogged, but quietly saved up energy, waiting for the day the storm passed to stretch out strongly. Are you ready to protect your garden through the blizzard season? Press hype to show your spirit. Greenhouses for gardening. A simple but sturdy hoop house can turn a barren winter into a green paradise right in the middle of a blizzard. The biggest problem when a blizzard sweeps through is the terrible weight of the snow that can crush any crop, along with the bone-chilling winds that stop all growth. To deal with this, my grandma built hoop house structures using PVC pipes or strong curved steel bars. A specialized plastic sheet for greenhouses was covered over the frame to create a warm space completely separate from the cold outside. This curved design is not just for looks, it also makes the structure sturdy against snow loads and high winds, allowing snow to easily slide off to the ground instead of piling up on the roof. The transparent plastic helps trap heat from the weak winter sun, making the inside environment many degrees warmer than the outside. Thanks to this greenhouse system, Her family could harvest hundreds of pounds of green vegetables all winter long. Not only that, it also protects the garden soil from erosion or having precious nutrients washed away after every big snowstorm. Choosing alternative covering materials. Take a look at what we're about to throw away. On blizzard nights, sudden frost can kill all young seedlings if they aren't protected in time with a covering layer. You can use everything from 2-liter plastic bottles and fruit trays to vapor barriers from the hardware store. In the past, Grandma used to use plastic bottles with the caps off or glass jars to place over each sensitive seedling like a mini greenhouse. If she needed to cover larger vegetable beds, she would use thick, non-woven fabric or recycled plastic film to create a heat barrier. These transparent materials are very smart because they allow the full light spectrum to pass through for the plants to photosynthesize, while also creating an extra insulating layer to prevent heat loss from the ground at night. This little tip helps anyone protect their garden from the cold with almost zero cost. Its greatest meaning is helping plants survive the deepest cold snaps without needing modern and expensive heating equipment. Using dry leaves as mulch. The dry leaves falling all over the yard in late autumn aren't trash. My grandma called them pure gold that nature leaves behind to nourish the soil. When the blizzard season arrives, empty patches of land without a covering layer will easily lose moisture and erode due to the dry winds and water from melting snow. Grandma would spend time gathering medium-sized maple or hazelnut leaves and store them very dry. Before the first snow fell, she would spread a very thick layer of leaves over the garden beds so that the weight of the snow itself would help press the leaves down, keeping them in place. Using dry leaves creates a cushion that keeps the soil temperature a few degrees warmer than the surroundings, protecting the roots from frost damage. Also, as they break down, this layer of leaves provides a rich amount of organic nutrients to the soil. Practical experience shows that leaf mulch can also stop weeds from sprouting early, making spring gardening much easier. The result is improved water retention and soil fertility, making the garden richer after every winter. Applying thick mulch for insulation. Besides leaves, a thick layer of straw mulch is like a warm blanket that helps plants sleep peacefully through a long storm. During blizzard season, constant temperature changes cause the soil to freeze and then thaw, creating a phenomenon called frost heaving. This is very dangerous because it pushes the plants out of the ground and tears their delicate young roots. To prevent this, Grandma would apply an extremely thick layer of mulch around the base of perennials and shrubs as soon as she felt the winter chill starting to threaten. Straw or other organic materials like dry leaves or bark act as a natural insulating blanket, helping stabilize the soil temperature during harsh cold snaps. The thick mulch reduces temperature changes in the soil, keeping the heat more stable and creating an environment that is less likely to freeze deeply. It also reduces evaporation and keeps moisture in, helping the roots not to dry out from the cold winter wind. So, instead of just cleaning the surface, applying thick mulch not only protects the roots from temperature swings, but also minimizes damage from frost and heaving while improving moisture and living conditions for beneficial soil microorganisms. Using snow as a natural insulator. You might think you're fighting the snow to save your plants from freezing, but the shocking truth is that snow is actually the strongest weapon to protect your crops, as long as you know how to use it right. While many people rush to clear snow from the garden for fear of roots freezing, old experience shows the opposite. A thick layer of snow is a natural insulating coat. When a blizzard hits and the air temperature drops below 0 degrees Celsius, the secret behind this tip is the tiny air pockets trapped in the snow. They provide excellent insulation, keeping the soil temperature stable at a safe level, no matter how deep the air outside freezes. Snow also plays a role in preventing soil moisture loss against dry winter winds that can wither plants. By keeping this snow layer, the plant roots are protected from the most extreme temperature fluctuations. Are you surprised by these tips? Please comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to spread these useful tips even more. Harvesting snowmelt for irrigation. Water from pure white snowflakes was cherished by my grandma as the purest gift heaven gives to plants. During blizzard season, city tap water is often treated with a lot of chlorine and chemicals, which isn't ideal for sensitive young seedlings. To get the best water, Grandma would place containers in spots where snow naturally piled up or right under the drip points from the roof when the temperature started to rise slightly and the snow melted. Snowmelt contains a precious amount of nitrogen absorbed from the atmosphere, acting as a gentle natural fertilizer with a slightly acidic pH that is ideal for plant growth. This harvesting provides a free, safe, and extremely nutrient-rich water source for indoor pots and early-stage seedlings. Instead of spending money on chemical fertilizers, Grandma used the very essence of nature to nourish the garden. The result was that the plants always stayed green, healthy, and had wonderful resistance even in the low-light conditions of winter. Transplanting mature plants into the greenhouse. Long-standing gardening experience shows that moving mature vegetable plants into a covered space is an effective way to maintain a fresh food source throughout the winter. In late autumn, when frost and cold rain start to threaten vegetables like lettuce or celery in the garden, instead of letting them be destroyed, growers will dig up the plant along with a large root ball to keep the roots and the surrounding microorganisms intact. Then, the plant is moved into a greenhouse, a wind-proof porch, or an area with a stable temperature and watered lightly for the first few days to reduce environmental shock. Scientifically, mature plants are more cold-tolerant and adapt better than seedlings, and their developed root systems help them continue to take in nutrients and grow when outside conditions get harsh. Thanks to this method, harvest time is extended by many weeks, and the number of harvests can even increase compared to growing completely outdoors. Caring for and picking vegetables in a windproof space is also safer and more convenient during blizzard weather. This is a practical solution to preserve productivity and maintain a green vegetable source all winter. Root warming techniques. If you just keep the feet of the plants warm, they will smile and grow tall despite the freezing cold hanging over their heads on blizzard nights. The root system is the heart of the plant, and if the roots freeze, the plant will surely die no matter how well the top part is covered. To solve this, my grandma used a very creative technique by placing heat-retaining elements right under the soil layer to warm them from the inside. She would often bury stones that had been heated by the daytime sun or place containers filled with water, which has a great ability to store heat, down at the base of the plant so the heat would be released slowly. The magic lies in the fact that plants can tolerate much colder air if their root zone is maintained at an optimal temperature. This method is not only effective, but also much more energy efficient than trying to heat the entire space around the plant. Thanks to the warmth quietly radiating from the ground, cold weather vegetables like kale or carrots can still grow steadily and give a harvest much earlier than usual. Cold weather composting techniques. A well-cared-for compost pile is like a microbial fire, quietly giving off heat to warm a corner of the garden during freezing winter days. Usually, when blizzards arrive and temperatures drop deep, most compost piles will freeze and stop all precious decomposition activity. My grandma fixed this by maintaining a perfect balance between nitrogen-rich materials like kitchen scraps and manure and carbon-rich materials like dry leaves and straw to stimulate internal heat production. She layered the materials carefully and finally covered the top with a very thick layer of straw to keep the heat from escaping into the cold air. The strong activity of aerobic microorganisms inside the balanced mix will create a very high temperature at the core, enough for the decomposition process to continue even when it's white with snow outside. This little tip not only provides a source of nutrient-rich humus ready for the next spring crop, but the high temperature also helps kill off stubborn weed seeds right during the winter. Using straw. To Grandma, straw was the warmest, cheapest, and most effective sweater that any gardener should own for the winter. In areas where dry leaves aren't available, leaving the soil bare under blizzards will expose the plant roots directly to life-threatening sub-zero cold. My grandma would often cover the entire ground of the vegetable beds with a layer of straw about 3 to 4 inches thick to create a solid thermal cushion. If planting with straw bales, she would soak them with water and add nitrogen a few weeks before to trigger the heat released from the straw's natural decomposition process. The characteristic hollow structure of straw fibers contains many tiny air pockets, providing excellent insulation for the soil, similar to modern building materials. This straw layer not only keeps the ground warm, but also helps maintain stable moisture for the root zone, creating an ideal habitat for earthworms and microorganisms even in the middle of a cold winter. Thanks to the straw, the garden soil always stays loose and fertile, ready for high-yielding crops as soon as the snow melts. Growing microgreens indoors. When the blizzards outside stop all outdoor farming, Grandma would bring the whole garden into the warm kitchen so the family always had fresh, juicy greens. During the coldest winter months, the human body can easily lack vitamins and the fresh living nutrients needed for health. Taking advantage of sunny, south-facing windowsills, she would thickly sow seeds like sunflower, radish, or peas into shallow trays of organic soil to start a crop of tiny microgreens. After just about 1 to 2 short weeks, the tender young sprouts full of life were ready to harvest. The special thing is that microgreens contain nutrient concentrations many times higher than mature plants by weight, providing a lot of energy for the body. They grow very fast and only need minimal resources, making them perfect for growing indoors when outside conditions are harsh. Trays of microgreens not only provide vitamins and minerals for meals, but also bring a sense of freshness and hope amidst the gray space of blizzard days. This was Grandma's most natural way of taking care of the family's health, turning the house into a green, lively oasis. Choosing cold, hardy plant varieties. My grandma always prioritized choosing true warriors for the garden so they could stand tall during the fiercest blizzards. While many modern hybrid varieties will wither as soon as the first frost appears, she trusted the strength of traditional cold, hardy varieties like kale, Brussels sprouts, or spinach. She often chose specific varieties that could withstand temperatures down to minus 15 degrees Celsius, or planted carrots in late autumn so they could sleep underground through the long winter. A quiet miracle behind the snow is that when it gets cold, root vegetables will build up sugar to act as a natural antifreeze for their cells. Because of that, after frost hits, kale and Brussels sprouts don't die, but actually become sweeter and more flavorful as starch is converted into sugar. Choosing these smart plant varieties helps the family always have fresh vegetables to harvest directly from under the thick snow, without spending money on heating. This is a lesson in understanding the characteristics of each plant species to live in harmony and turn nature's harshness into your own advantage. Natural cold storage with a root cellar. The underground root cellar was the giant refrigerator Grandma was very proud of because it worked perfectly without costing the family a single watt of electricity. During big blizzards that caused widespread power outages, modern appliances became useless, but Grandma's storage always protected the food wonderfully. She designed a space deep underground with a smart ventilation system to maintain cool temperatures and high humidity levels ideal for preservation. The soil surrounding the cellar provided excellent natural insulation, keeping the inside temperature stable despite any extreme fluctuations outdoors. Here, potatoes, onions, garlic, and various root vegetables were neatly arranged and kept their freshness for many long months. Reality has proven that this is the most sustainable storage method, a testament to the self-sufficient lifestyle of previous generations. The root cellar wasn't just a place to store food, but also a symbol of being well prepared for any challenge of the winter storm season. Thanks to it, my family never had to worry about a shortage of fresh vegetables, no matter how long the blizzard lasted outside. A cellar full of the fruits of one's labor is the greatest peace of mind for every gardener when winter comes. Protecting fruit trees from winter hazards. During blizzard days, special care should be given to young fruit tree trunks by wrapping them in warm layers of burlap fabric, like they're wearing new coats waiting for spring. A silent danger during the blizzard season is winter sun scald, which happens when the tree bark temperature changes too suddenly between day and night, causing deep cracks that ruin the tree. To protect them, Grandma wrapped the burlap tightly from the ground up to the first main branches and secured it firmly with natural rope. This fabric layer creates an important thermal buffer, fighting against the quick freezing and thawing of the cell tissues under the bark. Besides fighting the weather, the fabric wrap also acts as a physical shield to stop rodents from coming to gnaw on the bark when they are hungry in the middle of the white snow season. This little tip significantly increases the survival rate of fruit trees in their sensitive early years, ensuring they have enough strength to stretch out when the warm sun returns. Taking meticulous care of each tree trunk shows Grandma's love and nurturing for the life in the garden. It's an investment for the sweet fruit seasons of the future. Watching the fabric-wrapped trunks standing firm in the storms, I feel the protection and profound wisdom of the previous generation for all living things. Growing herbs indoors, Grandma never let the fresh flavor of spring disappear from the cozy kitchen, even when snow was covering every path in the garden. Having to wade through thick snow just to pick a few sprigs of herbs in the middle of a blizzard is a big inconvenience, so she cleverly moved the most sensitive pots indoors. She grew parsley, chives, and thyme in small soil pots with good drainage, then placed them proudly on the sunny south-facing windowsill to catch every rare ray of sunlight. She also didn't forget to rotate the pots periodically to ensure they grew evenly on all sides and didn't lean toward the light. The quiet fact is that indoor herbs often prefer cool temperatures and natural light over the hot, dry air from the central heating systems of modern homes. These herb pots not only brought a pleasant aroma and fresh flavor to winter stews, but also saved her a lot of effort moving around in bad weather. This little tip keeps family meals full of flavor and color, reminding us of the breath of spring right in the heart of the cold blizzard. Indoor herbs are a miniature garden that brings joy and comfort to the soul during the long months of winter. Growing mushrooms indoors. During blizzard days when the ground was completely frozen, Grandma found a way to create a nutrient-rich food source right in the darkness of her basement. When searching for food in nature became impossible, she started growing cold-tolerant mushrooms like oyster mushrooms on substrates recycled from organic waste. She used coffee grounds, straw, or sawdust as a habitat for the mushrooms and kept them moist enough by misting them daily in cool, dark corners. Mushrooms are magical organisms because they don't need sunlight for photosynthesis. Instead, they grow very strongly in the naturally cool temperature of an unheated basement. After just a few weeks of simple care, she could harvest the first batches of fresh mushrooms, providing a precious source of plant protein for family meals in the middle of the storm season. The fruiting process of mushrooms can last continuously for many months, bringing food self-sufficiency even when outside conditions are at their harshest. Growing mushrooms not only provides food, but is also a lesson in creativity and the wonderful human ability to adapt to nature's challenges. Winter beekeeping and insulation. Protecting pollinators during winter has always been an important part of a traditional garden. During long blizzards, cold winds blowing through cracks and moisture building up inside the hive can become a big threat to the honeybee colony. Therefore, people in the old days used to cover the beehives with tar paper or insulating materials to create a solid windbreak. However, the top ventilation holes were still kept to ensure air circulation, preventing condensation from damaging the hive from the inside. Biologically, bees don't hibernate completely. They cluster tightly around the queen and constantly vibrate their wings to generate heat, maintaining a stable temperature for the whole colony. The external insulation helps reduce heat loss, thereby limiting the amount of energy the bees have to use throughout the cold season. Thanks to this method, the bee colony can survive through the freezing months without being exhausted. When spring comes and the first flowers appear, the bees immediately return to their pollination duties, helping to maintain life for the entire garden. Protecting bees in winter is not just taking care of an insect, it's a way to keep the ecological balance stable and prepare for a healthy crop ahead. Extending the season with cold frames. Old windows that seemed like they should be thrown away were turned by Grandma into very effective shields to protect green vegetables right in the heart of a blizzard. Usually, frost will kill all sensitive vegetables like lettuce or spinach as soon as they start to grow, but Grandma prevented that with a smart cold frame system. She built simple wooden boxes and used old windows as transparent lids, placing them in the best south-facing sunny spots in the garden. The glass lids were designed with a certain slope so that snow could easily slide to the ground instead of piling up and weighing down the wooden frame. The quiet principle behind these boxes is the miniature greenhouse effect, absorbing solar heat during the day and releasing it slowly to warm the plants at night. The environment inside the cold frame is always maintained at a significantly warmer level than the freezing air outside, helping green vegetables still grow steadily despite the frost. To boost protection, she also propped the frames up on rows of bricks or surrounded them with straw bales to keep the heat better. Thanks to this little tip, the family could harvest fresh, delicious vegetables almost year-round, even in the harshest climates. This is a sustainable and most economical solution to extend the season that any gardener can apply. Using terracotta pots to keep heat. In her greenhouse, terracotta pots weren't just for planting trees, they also acted as smart thermal batteries that helped stabilize the temperature through long blizzard nights. A big problem with winter greenhouses is that the temperature often drops very fast as soon as the sun goes down, causing serious thermal shock for sensitive plants. To fix this, Grandma would fill unglazed terracotta pots with water and place them in the spots that got the most sun during the day. She arranged these water pots around the base of plants that needed special protection to create a safe thermal buffer zone. The secret lies in the characteristic porous structure of clay, which helps it absorb heat from sunlight extremely effectively throughout the long day. When night falls and the air gets freezing, the heat accumulated in the clay pot and the water will be released gradually through the natural process of thermal radiation. This little tip helps create warm microenvironments around the plants, helping them survive safely through nights when temperatures drop suddenly and deeply without needing electric heating equipment. Biological heating system using hot manure. A completely natural underfloor heating system from animal manure was the secret that kept Grandma's garden warm despite the blizzards howling outside. The biggest problem is that the freezing ground during storm season will completely stop plant root growth, making them unable to absorb nutrients even if they are covered on top. My grandma used to dig deep trenches under the planting beds, then fill them with a special mix of fresh horse manure and straw before covering them with a layer of fertile soil for planting. The strong aerobic decomposition process of microorganisms in the fresh horse manure generates an impressive heat right under the ground, directly warming the plant's root zone. Not only providing heat, this process also releases carbon dioxide gas, which helps stimulate the plants to photosynthesize better in the low-light conditions of winter. This biological heating system provides a stable heat source for several weeks, boosting the plants to grow strongly and healthily amidst the cold space. Using frost blankets for extra protection. Whenever news of a blizzard was near, my grandma always prepared protection coats to put on her plants to fight against the attack of frost. Sudden frost can wipe out an entire crop in just one night if we are careless and don't cover the sensitive green sprouts in time. Grandma often used light fabrics like cotton or old burlap to make frost blankets for the garden. She covered the entire plant canopy with the fabric, pulling it down to the ground and using bricks or heavy stones to weigh down the edges to create a warm air pocket sealed inside. Even a thin layer of fabric can create an effective thermal barrier, preventing the temperature around the plant from dropping to a deadly freezing level. This covering still ensures a gentle air exchange, helping the plant not to suffocate while still being protected from cold winds that wither young sprouts. This little tip is extremely powerful in protecting plants from sudden deep cold snaps that often come with major blizzards. Thanks to Grandma's care and thoughtful covering, the garden always made it through the harshest times without significant damage, keeping the hope of a green spring crop burning bright. Using pine needles as mulch. The fragrant pine needle carpet was considered by Grandma as a dedicated bodyguard that helped stabilize soil pH and control weeds effectively throughout the long, wet winter. Regular mulches sometimes break down too fast and aren't strong enough to protect the soil through the blizzard season, so pine needles were the perfect alternative. My grandma used to gather pine needles and apply a thick layer around the base of plants that love acidic environments, like strawberries or blueberries, to create a sustainable protective layer. The natural interlocking structure of pine needle fibers helps them stick firmly to the ground, creating a physical barrier to stop erosion and the impact of frost. Pine needles decompose very slowly, helping to suppress weed germination all winter long without using any chemicals. Also, they help maintain the ideal acidity for the soil, providing a perfect habitat for specific plants to grow strongly as soon as the snow melts. This mulch also keeps the soil loose, preventing it from being compacted by the weight of the thick snow layer piled on top. Thanks to this little tip, Grandma's garden was always clear of weeds and kept the fertility needed for the new crop. Pine needles not only bring a pleasant scent, but also serve as a testament to the wisdom of using local resources to care for the land in the most sustainable way, using leaf towers and insect protection. Not only protecting the plants, but the ecological environment around the garden plants also needs protection. That is where insects take shelter. Strong winds during a storm often blow away all the precious leaf mulch, exposing the freezing ground and destroying the shelters of small but important creatures for the garden. To deal with this, Grandma used rabbit wire to create sturdy cylindrical towers and filled them with dry leaves for storage. She also always reminded us to use a hand rake gently when gathering leaves so as not to disturb the insect cocoons hiding under the fallen leaf layer. The structure of the leaf tower helps keep the leaves in place against storm winds while still ensuring the necessary ventilation to prevent the leaves from rotting due to dampness. This is also a wonderful way for Grandma to store high-quality leaf mold for fertilizing the next spring, helping to improve soil structure in the most natural way. Protecting overwintering insects ensures that the natural pollinator army will always be ready to get to work as soon as the warm sun returns, bringing a brilliant start to the new crop. This last tip shows Grandma's absolute respect for every link in the garden ecosystem, affirming that life always needs to be nurtured and protected comprehensively, even in the harshest conditions of nature. Blizzards may bring numbing cold, but with Grandma's wisdom, we always find warmth from the earth and the resilience of plants. Hope the secrets from Grandma's garden will stay with you, bringing green color and hope throughout the long winters. If this video has brought back beautiful memories for you or helped your garden, don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel to join us on more meaningful journeys back in time.